Go.
Hello, good day to each and everyone, especially to our instructor and to the viewers. We are the Group 2 from DDC BSN 111F, and today we are about to report our answers for the Week 2 task that was given to us in Anatomy and Physiology. So, without further ado, I am giving the floor to Miss Wem Trixie Cresini for her part.
Good morning. I am Wem Trixie Cusini. So let us discuss the first part, which is the part of the cell and its function. So our number one answer is nuclear envelope. Its function is it separates the contents of the nucleus from the cellular cytoplasm. Number two is nucleus, which is it controls expression and mediate the replication of DNA during the cycle. Number three, our answer is plasma membrane, which provides protection for a cell. It also provides a fixed environment inside the cell. Number four, it is the rough endoplasmic reticulum, which it cites the protein sorting and secretion as it contains ribosomes. Next, our answer for number five is Golgi apparatus. It helps process and package proteins and lipids molecules, especially proteins destined to be exported from the cell. Next, our answer for number six is circulatory vesicle. So it restores the molecules and proteins from the endoplasmic reticulum and Golgi apparatus until the cell is ready to release them. Number seven is microtubules. Microtubules, they provide the rigid organized components or the cytoskeleton that gives shape to many cells. Number seven is centrioles. Centrioles, it's the organs of microtubules that serves the cell as the skeletal system. Number nine, it is the mitochondria, which generates the energy that the cell needs. So they are sometimes compared to power plants. Next, our answer for number 10 is lysosome. Lysosome, they break down excess or worn out cell parts. So number 11, our answer is ribosomes. Ribosomes, it serves as the site of protein synthesis in the cell. Number 12, it is the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm, the fluid which organelles of the cell resides. Number 13, it is the smooth endoplasmic reticulum. The smooth endoplasmic reticulum, it synthesizes the lipids, phospholipids, as in the plasma membrane and steroids. And number 14 is the nucleolus. The nucleolus is facilitating ribosomes biogenesis through the processing and assembly of RNA into the peribome cell particles. Number 15 is the chromatin. The chromatin contains information from building proteins. Next, our next discussion is the cell division in our worksheet. So our answer in number one, the stage is interphase. As we can see the centrioles, two pairs, condensed chromatin, nuclear envelope, nucleolus, plasma membrane. In this stage, in the major events, it is in this stage the cell grows and replicates the DNA, resulting into two identical chromosomes and prepares for mitosis. Next, number two is the late prophase. As we can see the polar microtubules, splinter, pole, fragments of nuclear envelope, kinetochore, kinetochore microtubules, and the major events is this is when the mitotic spindle begins to capture the chromosomes, and the chromosomes become more dense, and the nuclear membrane, then the microtubules attach themselves to the centromeres that adjoin pair of sister chromatids. Next, our next number, which is number three, which is metaphase. As we can see metaphase plate and spindle. So our major event is the chromosomes are aligned in the center of the cell on the center of the spindle, midway within the centrioles or the metaphase plate that makes the straight line of the chromosome visible. And then number four, the stage is anaphase. As we can see, the daughter chromosomes. Our major events is the centromeres that held the sister chromatids split together and begins to move apart towards the opposite ends of the cell, pulled by their half centromeres, equally dividing into two genetic materials. Next, our next number, which is number five, last one. The stage is telophase. As we can see, that there is nucleus forming, contractile ring at cleavage furrow, and then a nuclear envelope forming. And then the major event is the stage where chromosomes uncoil to become the chromatin and nuclear envelope reforms around the chromatin, spindles break down and disappear, and the nuclei appear in each of the daughter nuclei. So that is all for the parts of the cell and the cell division. So now I'm passing the stage to Bermejo for the next discussion.
Thank you, Ms. Crisini. So, proceeding to the cell physiology and membrane transport, cell physiology is the biological study of the activities that take place in a cell to keep it alive. Meanwhile, the membrane transport refers to the collection of mechanisms that regulate the passage of solute. So, for the semi-permeable sac, our answer is letter A. Since the concentration gradient of glucose and sodium chloride are the one that moves into the sac due to their chemical driving force and also because the salt has a higher concentration. So for item number 2, our answer is letter B because water must move out due to a high concentration inside the sac. Therefore, the water will be dispersed outside the sac via osmosis. Our answer number 3 is letter C since the albumin will not move because it is not permeate to the sac due to its condition that the sac is not permeable to albumin. So let's move on to the next topic, which is the three microscopic fields. Our answer for number 1 is letter B because it has a higher solution or lower water content than another solution. Our answer for number 2 is letter A since a solution it has a same salt concentration as cells and blood. And for the last item, our answer for number 3 is letter C, since a solution that has a lower concentration of solutes than the cells inside. Moving on to the next topic, which is the deep dive. Um, Number one, our answer for number one is in this case, since there is more solute or dissolved substances and higher concentration of water inside the cell than the outside, the cells will shrink. This is because the water inside the cell is traveling down its concentration gradient and leaving the cells. The water will be drawn out into the bloodstream so that the kidney can eliminate excess fluid. So, so that's for number one. Our number two is Answer for number 2 is in this situation given if the person is only given with water, the solution concentration of the extracellular fluids will lower. And since there is more water in the solution and has fewer solute, the cells will plump up rapidly until they finally burst out because the water will rush to enter them since there is no solute or less solute at all. So that's it for my discussion. I'm giving the mic to Miss Daniela Carion.
So thank you, Miss Bermao. So let's proceed to stepping in activity 1A, the four major tissue types. So number one is nervous tissue. Its two major functional characteristics are irritability and conductivity. They are responsible for internal communication, integration, and control. So it transmits and integrated information through the central and peripheral nervous system. So that it is found in the brain, spinal cord, and nerves. Number two is muscle tissue. They are highly specialized to contract or shorten, which generates the force required to produce movement. So it contracts to initiate body in the movement in the body. So it is found in the skeletal muscle, cardiac muscle, and smooth muscle. Epithelial tissue. The function of the epithelial tissue involves protection, absorption, filtration, and secretion. It it forms the boundary that sets us apart from the outside world. So it creates protective boundaries and is involved in the diffusion of ions and molecules. So it is found in the lining of gastrointestinal tract organ and other hollow organs. And it is also found in skin surface or epidermis. Connective tissue. It performs different functions, but they are primarily involved in protecting, supporting, and binding together other body tissues. So basically, it connects the body parts. So it is found in bones, tendon, fat, and other soft padding tissues. So let's proceed to tissue types. Number one is lines body cavities and covers the body's external surface. Epithelium. Number two, pumps blood, flushes urine out of the body, allows one to swing a bat, muscular. Number 3, transmits waves of excitation, nervous. Number 4, anchors and packages body organs, connective. Number 5, cells may absorb, protect, or form a filtering membrane, epithelium. Number 6, most involved in regulating body functions quickly, nervous. Major function is to contract, muscular. The most durable tissue type, connective. Number 9, abundant non-living extracellular matrix, connective. Number 10, forms nerves, nervous. So let's proceed to the crossword puzzle. Number 1, dense connective tissue band or sheet that binds organs and muscles together, fascia. Number 2, the most widespread and most varied of all the tissues, connective. Number 3, down, tissue that has multiple layers in which some cells don't touch the basement membrane, stratified. Number 3, across, type of cell that can differentiate into a number of different cells, stem. Number 4, modified cells containing circulatory vesicles that produce large quantities of mucus, goblet. Number 5, gland that secretes its products directly into the bloodstream, endocrine. Number 6, tissue that lacks blood vessels and depends on the underlying connective tissue for oxygen and nutrients, epithelial. Number 7, cord-like tissues that attach bones to bones, ligaments. Number 8, key component of connective tissue, matrix. Number 9, down, cell shape that is tall and cylindrical, columnar. Number 9, across, the body's most abundant protein, collagen. Number 10, dense cord-like tissues that attach muscles to bones, tendons. Number 11, groups of cells that perform a common function, tissue. Number 12, gland that secretes its products into ducts, exocrine. Number 13, tissue dominated by fat cells, adipose. And lastly, number 14, cell shape that is flat and plate-like, squamous. So I'm passing the floor to Miss Maria Cuchel Castillo.
Epithelial tissue. Number 1, squamous. Number 2, cuboidal. Number 3, columnar. Number 4, simple squamous. Number 5, simple cuboidal. Number 6, simple columnar. Number 7, pseudostratified ciliated columnar. Number 8, stratified squamous. Number 9, stratified transitional, relax. Number 10, stratified transitional stretch. Next. Epithelial tissue. Number 1, best suited for areas subject to friction. Stratified squamous. Profiles substance across its surface is pseudostratified ciliated columnar. Most suited for rapid diffusion is simple squamous. Tubules of the kidney is simple cuboidal. Stretches transitional. Number 6, lines much of the respiratory tract is pseudostratified ciliated columnar. Lines the small and large intestines is simple columnar. Lining of the esophagus is stratified squamous. Lining of the bladder is transitional. Alveolar sacs of the lungs is simple cuboidal. Connective tissue. Number 1, fibers occurs in network and supports small structures such as capillaries and nerves is reticular. Fibers are the most abundant fibers in connective tissue is collagenous. Connective tissue is classified according to its blank structural characteristics. Blank is a type of loose connective tissue found underneath almost all epithelia is areolar. Forms the framework of the spleen, lymph nodes, and bone marrow is reticular. 6 is a type of dense connective tissue that has no blood supply, making heal slow or absent following an injury is cartilage. Blank is resist compression and absorb shocks, making it ideal to form the disc between the vertebrae is fibrocartilage. The matrix of Blanc serves as strong storage site for calcium is bone. Unlike other connective tissues, Blanc doesn't contain any fibers is blood. Most connective tissues has a Blanc blood supply is rich. Muscle, a connective tissue. It attached bones to bones and muscle to bones is dense fibrous connective tissue. Fur matrix heavily invaded with fibers, appears glassy and smooth is hyaline cartilage. Insulates against heat loss, provides reserve fuel is adipose connective tissue. Composes basement membranes, a soft packaging tissue with a jelly-like matrix is areolar connective tissue. Form the larynx and the costal cartilage is hyaline cartilage. Matrix hard provides levers of muscle to act on is osseous tissue. Form your hip bones is osseous tissue. Makes up the intervertebral disc is fibrocartilage. Muscle tissue. The characteristic of skeletal muscle is striated, cylindrical cells, voluntary, many nuclei, attached to bones, no move limbs, produce smiles. Cartilage, a cardiac muscle, characteristic is striated, branching cells, cylindrical cells, active during birth, involuntary, one nucleus, forms heart walls, intercalated disc. Smooth muscle characteristic is spindle-shaped cells, active during birth, involuntary, one nucleus in a wall of bladder and stomach arranged in sheets. I am passing the floor to Faisal Bayani.
Okay, thank you, Miss Caspillo. Now let's proceed to nervous tissue. Number one, in what ways are neurons similar to other cells? Our answer is neurons are similar to other cells because neurons have a cell membrane, a nucleus, cytoplasm, mitochondrial, organelles, and carry out processes such as energy production. Number two, how are they different? Our answer is they differ in a way that neurons have specialized cell parts called dendrites and axons, which the other cells do not have it. It communicates with each other through an electrochemical process. All neurons receive and conduct electrochemical impulses from one part of the body to another. Also, their cytoplasm is drawn out into long processes. Number three, how does the special structure of a neuron relate to its function? Neurons contain some specialized structures, synapses, and neurotransmitters, and chemicals. These structures function at the communication site of the neurons. It also has long cytoplasmic extensions that promote its ability to transmit impulses over long distances within the body. Let's proceed to membrane. Number one, mucus. The characteristics of mucus is letter B, lines body surfaces that open directly to the body's exterior, and letter H, secretes mucus. Number 2, cutaneous. Characteristic of cutaneous is letter D, the body's largest membrane. Letter F, consists of different types of epithelium depending on the location and function of the membrane. G, consists of a layer of epithelium resting on a layer of connective tissue. Number 3, serous. The characteristic of serous is letter A, composed of simple squamous epithelium resting on a thin layer of areolar connective tissue. Letter C, lines some of the closed body cavities and covers many of the organs in those cavities. E, secretes a fluid to help prevent friction as the organs move. G, consists of a layer of epithelium resting on a layer of connective tissue. I, consists of three types, pleural, pericardial, and peritoneal. Next, Let's proceed to integumentary system. The two basic tissues of which the skin is composed are dense connective tissue, which makes up the dermis, and blank. So the answer for number one is epithelium. Which forms the epidermis? Most cells of the epidermis are blank. So our answer for number two is keratinocytes. The protein blank. So for our answer for number three is collagen. It makes the dermis tough and able to retain water. The specialized cells that produce the pigments that contribute to skin color are called. Our answer for number four is melanocytes. So now let's proceed to the crossword. Across. Number three. The skin is also called as cutaneous membrane. Number four. Excessive hair loss. Our answer for number four is alopecia. Number five. The inner, deeper layer of the skin. Our answer for number five is dermis. Number eight. Outermost layer of the epidermis is called corneum. Number nine. Inflammation of the skin characterized by itching and redness. Our answer for number 9 is dermatitis. Number 10, oily substance produced by sebaceous gland. Our answer for number 10 is sebum. Number 11, dead tissue resulting from a burn. Our answer for 11 is eschar. For down, number 1, flattened cells making up the skin's outermost layer. So our answer is keratinocytes. Number 2, substance that gives hair and skin its color. Our answer for that is melanin. Number 6, the outermost layer of the skin. Our answer for number 6 is epidermis. And number 7, earwax, cerumen. So I'm passing the floor to De Carlos.
Thank you, Mr. Faisal. So, number one, we have the hair shaft. This is a part of your hair that can be seen above your scalp. Number two, the epidermis. Number three, the dermis. Number four, the hypodermis. Number five, the pore. Number six, the dermal papillae. Number seven, the Meissner's corpuscle. This consists of a cutaneous nerve ending responsible for transmitting the sensations such as discriminative touch and vibrations. Number 8, the sensory nerve ending. Number 9, the eccrine sweat gland. The eccrine sweat glands help to maintain hemostasis primarily by stabilizing body temperature. Number 10, the Pacinian corpuscle. Number 11, Acrector pili. Number 12, the cutaneous vascular plexus. This is responsible for supplying blood to the adnexal structures of the dermis, including the follicles and glands. Number 13, the hair root. Number 14, the adipose tissue. Number 15, the sebaceous tissue. Number 16, the stratum corneum. The skin's This is the skin's outermost layers and interface with the outside world. This acts as the barrier that prevents the unwanted material from entering and excessive loss of water from exiting the body. Number 17. The stratum granul, gra- granus, granulosum. Granos, stratum granulosum. Number 18. The stratum spinosum. Number 19. The stratum basilae. Number 20, the dermis. Number 21, the lunula. The lunula has a primary structural role in defining this free edge of the distal nail plate. Number 22, the nail plate. The purpose of the nail plate is to protect the living nail bed underneath. Number 23, the cuticle. Number 24, the nail root. And lastly, number 25, the nail matrix. Let's move on to the appendages of the skin. The skin appendages include the sweat glands, nails, and the unit of the skin that comprises the hair, shaft, hair follicles, the sebaceous gland, and the rector pili muscle. The answer for our number one is the hair follicle. This is the acne is an infection of this. So number two, this is found everywhere on the body except palms of hand and the soles of the feet. This is sebaceous gland. Number three, specialized nerve endings that respond to temperature, touch, and etc. Our answer is the cutaneous receptors. Number four, primarily dead or keratinized cells. Our answer is hair and nail. Number five, more numerous varieties of perspiration gland that produces a secretion containing water, salt, and vitamin C activated by rise in temperature. Our answer is sweat gland eccrine. Number six, the structure that houses a hair follicles. Number seven, specialized nerve endings that respond to temperature, touch, and etc. Our answer is cutaneous receptors. Number eight, sheath formed of both epithelial and connective tissues. Our answer is hair follicles. Number nine, sports, lunule, and cuticle. This is a nail. Number 10, type of perspiration producing gland that produces a secretion containing proteins and fats in addition to water and salt. This is a sweat gland eccrine. So the skin contains, our answer is nerves to cause blood vessels in the skin to dilate or constrict to regulate heat loss. Number 2, when chilled, the blood vessels blank. Our answer is constrict. This blanks, and our answer is reduces blood flow through the skin and conserves heat. Number 3, when overheated, the blood vessels in the skin blanks. So our answer is dilate. This blank increases the flow of blood and increases heat loss. Number 4, if the body is still overheated, the brain stimulates blank. Our answer is sweating, and this results in evaporation and cooling occurs. So I'm passing the floor to Debbie Kapitan.
Thank you, Miss Felicity. So, for the first problem in our deep dive, on the first day after arriving in Davao for Christmas vacation, Digong plays out in the sun for 6 hours. Later that night, he notices that the skin on his lower legs and around his arms becomes red, swollen, and extremely painful. By morning, all of the afflicted areas have developed numerous blisters. These areas burned included his trunk, front and back, and arms and legs. The following questions apply. For the first two questions, what organ has been damaged? So the organ that has been damaged is the skin because of the overexposure of digong under the heat that causes the proteins in his body to become overexpressed. What type of burn did digong receive? Explain. Digong received a second degree burn because the epidermis or the first layer and part of the dermis second layer has been affected. Also, since the burn resulted in blisters, redness, severe pain, and swelling. Number 3, list all layers of the skin that have been damaged. So the epidermis, which is the first layer, specifically the stratum basale, stratum spinosum, stratum corneum, and stratum granulosum, and the superficial part of the dermis, which is the second layer, specifically the papillary, have been damaged. Next question. Why is this type of burn so painful? So, this type of burn is painful, especially with air movement and change in temperature, because it causes the skin to become red and sore, and some blisters pop open, making the burn to appear weak and wet looking. The overexposure to sun causes proteins to become overexpressed and resulting in sunburn pain. Second degree burn often takes several weeks to heal, and if it doesn't receive the treatment it needed, especially if they cover large areas of the body, it will possibly cause to serious complications. Using rule of nines, what percentage of total body surface has been burned? Show your calculations. So in the situation given, the gong's lower legs, arms, and front and back trunks are the parts that was burned. Using rule of nines, the anterior trunk is equal to 18%, posterior trunk is equal to 18%, and when added, the trunks are equal to 36%. Moreover, the anterior right and left arms as well as the posterior right and left arms is equal to 4.5% each. Totally, the arms are equal to 18%. Lastly, the anterior right and left legs is equal to 9% each, and posterior left and left right and left legs are also both equal to 9%. And when added together, the legs are equal to 36%. To sum up it all, the trunks 36%, arms 18%, and legs 36% are equal to 90%. Thus, 90% of the total body surface has been burned. So this is the calculations, and as you can see on the illustration, that is the rule of nine. So the affected areas are the trunks, the arms, the legs. Those are the three parts that were affected. So the total burned body surface overall is 90%. So for the next problem, a 44-year-old Caucasian woman has a small mole on her upper thigh. Her past history is negative for serious illness. She was hospitalized for the birth of her three children. She admits to being an avid sun worshiper and is noted to have very dark brown skin and some premature aging of the facial skin. For the question, first question, considering the possible etiology of melanoma, what effect does the exposure to sunlight have on this form of cancer? Melanoma is a serious type of cancer in which develops in the cells that produces melanin. The exposure to ultraviolet radiation from sunlight or tanning lamps and beds could increase the risk of developing melanoma. The UV rays damages the DNA in skin cells and sometimes affects the genes that control cell growth and division. When the damage of DNA builds up over time, it triggers changes in melanocytes to produce more melanin, resulting in uncontrolled cellular growth, thus developing skin cancer. For the next question, explain what the ABCDE features are that are associated with skin cancer. So, the ABCDE is a system for examining the skin and determining whether there is a mole or sign of melanoma that stands for asymmetry, border, color, diameter, and evolving. Asymmetry determines the difference between two sides since melanoma is often asymmetrical. Border determines whether the edges are smooth since melanoma lesions have irregular edges. Color determines the variation and changes since melanoma has more than one color or shade. Diameter determines whether a growth is larger than a pencil eraser or more than 6 millimeters in diameter. Lastly, evolving, which is the factor that considers changes in characteristics to be concerning. For the third question, what instructions should the nurse give to the patient about monitoring the mole on her thigh and watching for other skin changes? The nurse can instruct the patient to check her body from head to toe after taking a bath or before getting dressed and use the ABCDE
Mm-mm.
assessment every month. She can examine her body inside an illuminated room, in front of a full length mirror or using a handheld mirror while sitting on a chair. She can also take photos to monitor the mole on her thigh to help her know if there are changes, especially to the other parts of her body as time passes by. Additionally, if something changed recently and it is a very concerning situation, it is best to consult a doctor. For the last question, what can the nurse recommend to the patient for self care measures to prevent skin cancer? So the nurse can recommend to the patient to reduce sun exposure by wearing protective clothing, seek shade between 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., use a broad spectrum sunscreen with SPF of 30 or higher daily, using spray tan instead of tanning equipment, and practicing skin self-examination. So that's it for our answers for the week 2 task of our anatomy and physiology. We hope that you've learned something. Once again, we are the group 2 of DDCBS1 11F. Thank you for staying, listening, and watching. Have a good day.